Hi everybody, Jason Ryan from iAnimate here. How's everybody doing? I'm hoping that you're doing very well. In this particular snippet, we're going to talk about a very elusive thing called appeal. So appeal, why did I call it elusive? Well, it's very, very subjective. Like what makes something very, very appealing and something not so appealing. And sometimes when I'm looking at a character posing or an expression or a way of moving, sometimes something cannot feel appealing because it may be symmetrical. It may be all moving at the same time. It may be no overlapping actions. There may be just some things about it that don't quite feel natural or could be better. Okay, so when I'm looking at an actual pose like this is our zero pose for our character Scarecrow here, and I put him exactly on a front view because it's very symmetrical. But even in his zero pose, there's a nice design element to him. And it's mainly not so much in the actual pose itself, but just in his overall design, right? Like just that he actually does look kind of intimidating and scary, and there's a really nice quality to that character, but also in the way the straw is here. Like there's something that's this is sort of out further, and this is more sticking up, and this is sort of like, it's not quite symmetrical on both sides, so it already feels appealing, right? But how do we make this more appealing? So usually when I'm trying to do certain poses with a character, I'll try to do a pose where I feel like it's in the region of what I want, and then I'll do a pose right next to it, like setting like two keys right next to each other, and then sort of compare the two, one to the next, one to the next. So the very first thing that I'll do to make this more appealing is to take him off center. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I'll change his head here to be, right now it's in next space 1 or next space 0. I usually leave it in next space 0, right? Because what happens is when we actually do like a little rotate with the chest, the head will stay in world space, but it'll actually stay connected, which is kind of nice because what happens is you'll start to get this nice sort of angle to the shoulders, but the head sort of feels like it's going slightly in the opposite way. And I'll actually push that even maybe a little bit further, right? So I'll grab the head and sort of tilt it a little bit more this way, right? Now, if I flip that between this and this, you can already start to see that there's a little bit more character shining through, right? Now, if I'm trying to make this character feel more intimidating, right? What I might do is actually take his head and bring his head so it feels like he's looking down this way, right? Okay, and then maybe take his eyes. What I'll do is I'll take that look at and bring that upwards. Okay, so it feels like he's looking like this. And automatically now we're starting to feel a little bit more of that character, like he's looking through his brows, right? Okay, so this is more just plain straight, and then we got this little bit of an angle here. And then just going in to see if we can find a little bit of asymmetry through the face. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll grab his mouth or his jaw and sort of get a little bit of a line of action going through the face. So I might just kind of pull that a little bit more this way, right? So kind of tilting it, going across like that, right? This way we kind of get this feeling like there's a line kind of going through his actual face like this, right? Now, because I've tilted this way, now we can even push the asymmetry in the expression a little bit more, right? So let's bring up his face GUI here. So what I'll do is, because I've got this sort of high here, I'll bring this brow and bring it lower, right? So we kind of get this sort of angle going through his face now as well, right? So little design things like this will really push your posing. Okay, so bringing this down. Okay, and I'll bring like the center slightly up so it sort of marries up with this brow up here. And then we'll get this brow, we'll start that like this. And then we'll get his middle of his brow sort of upwards like this, And now we're getting a little bit more asymmetry in the actual expression, which is quite nice. Okay, and then usually what I'll do with the lids is sort of marry them to the shape of the actual brow itself, right? So right now they're sort of a little bit flat, a little bit more almond shape. What I'll try to do is just get these to angle a little bit more in the angle of the actual brow itself, right? So I'll take both lids, bring them up a little bit more, I get to see a little bit more of the one side rather than the other, right? So we get a little bit of asymmetry in the eyelids too, right? All right, cool. And then because we've got like this side sort of scrunching up a little bit more here, what we'll do is we'll take the macro corner of the mouth and sort of bring that up a little bit higher. Okay, so now we've got like a little bit more of this pushing down, this pushing up. And then we can also sort of get like a little bit of a sneer going into his lips, right? So we'll take these micro moves right here and just get a little bit more push on this side. And then we can take the sneer on this side of his nose, push that up a little bit more like that, right? Now we've got like this sort of cool feel to the actual pose and the expression, right? Now we can play around with the lids and the lower lids, sort of pushing these guys up, and then maybe even get the squints as well. And maybe get those guys to push up a little bit further, you know. So now we're getting really pushing into the expression. Okay, and then maybe grab the cheeks, maybe push those guys up a little bit. Okay, maybe one side higher than the other. So we get that feel, right? And then we can just compare that. So we have like a new pose now, but let's compare that to our other one and see how it feels, right? And this way, like I'm starting to feel like, okay, great. We're starting to get a little bit more expression. We're starting to get a little bit more appeal to the pose, right? Push that a little bit further. And then with everything I do, like any pose that I'll do, I'll always have that one frame in there where I feel like I've got something that's working, and then I'll start to compare it to a new one. And then I can always kind of change little things, but I've always got something to compare it to. So you'll always see like, like in the illusion of life and all that, they see like little rough drawings on one sheet of paper where the one of the nine old men is kind of working out an actual pose and trying to find the right pose for that moment or for that character, and seeing what they can actually do to push it. Sometimes they'll kind of go, okay, maybe they'll draw a circle around one idea that they found that makes it work even better, you know? So even here, maybe like with this expression here, maybe just getting a little bit more of that anger in there, you know? So we're trying to find like that fluidity, that line of action going through the actual character. Okay. And then this furrow right here, maybe pushing this together a little bit more to show a little bit more of that anger or that intimidation. And we're starting to feel that. That's pretty cool. All right, great. And then, so we save that key, okay? Select all, save a key. And then I'll push this even more. So let's say like I want to kind of go, and instead of like just keeping his mouth a little bit more neutral, maybe we want to get like a little bit more of that sinister smile that he might have. So we'll keep that, okay? We'll keep that pose because that's obviously better than the one that we've got. That's as the 0 pose, right? So we'll copy that to there. And then let's go ahead and push this even more. All right, so let's see if we go a little bit further, let's see if we get like a smile on this guy, right? So maybe push this, get it up to the top here, right? And then grab the micro and sort of bring that up into here and this up into here, right? So you can almost go into a point where like you're breaking away from the character and seeing if this will actually work better or not as well, you know, for your actual expression. But for me, like this is the best way. This is the way I approach it. It's just trying to find like different angles. Like if I push that even more this way, if I push the chest even more this way, like is that going to make it feel better for the pose? What if I make the lids not so tight there? Maybe if I go a little further this way, will that make them feel even crazier for the moment? Right? Maybe bring these guys out this way. Okay, maybe push that expression even more. And this way we can really feel like, oh, okay, now I can really start to see if that pose will work better or worse for the actual moment itself, right? And for me, like this works the best. Just sort of like comparing one to the next, one to the next, seeing where it was before, where it is now, and playing it back, just that one pose, just to see how it feels with the dialogue or with the expression or with the motion, like what reads the best. And this is sort of like you're trying to when I'm looking at an actual pose itself, what I'm thinking about is if I make this into a poster and put that on the wall, do I know what that character is feeling or what that character is trying to do for the moment, right? Like it's a really good test, so like whenever you're doing an actual pose, spend a bit of time on it. Like don't just kind of push it in there. Usually when I'm explaining to animators who are blocking in a shot and showing a director, try to encapsulate your whole entire shot within as few poses as possible. This way you can really think about the head angle, about the intent, about the expression. And if you can figure it out just within a couple of poses, your shot is going to be that much more strong, right? Because you're going to start to feel the animation around that pose. So work out the expression. Don't just kind of keep the character neutral and zero it out. Trying to get the expression in there, get the intent of what the shot's all about.